What is going on, everybody? It's the Frost, and we're here for our SmackDown review for March the 12th, 2021. We are on our way to Fastlane, and yet we still have only 2 matches. So, yeah. We only have 2 matches going into SmackDown. I don't know who thought this was a good idea. Why we only have 2 matches. It makes no fucking sense to me. But then this just tells me again that that Fastlane was not necessary. It should have been it should have been Elimination Chamber, and then everything else going into WrestleMania. Now I know they want to have this match with Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan at pay-per-view, so they want to do that. That's fine, whatever. But seriously, the women's tag team title match that we have coming up, we already saw last month with a clean finish, mind you. It wasn't a dirty finish, which would have made sense why you want to do the rematch. It just feels like Fastlane is a waste. And on top of that, with Fastlane not being this week, when Fastlane's done and over with, we'll only have 3 more weeks before WrestleMania. So again, we still only have 2 matches for that show as well. WWE, and apparently everything is getting everything is getting blown up and getting rethought with 4.5 weeks to go. I just can't even with this company sometimes. So we get a normal talking segment at the beginning of the show, but this time it's Edge. The commentators hype up whether Edge will take on Daniel Bryan or Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, which come the fuck on. We all know Roman Reigns is winning. Now there is rumors that WWE might go with Daniel Bryan, but it would make no sense to have Edge come out at the Elimination Chamber, spear Roman Reigns, and then it be him versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. That would have just been the dumbest thing that would have been the dumbest booking decision, I think. It's like, yeah, we're going to have Edge go out there and spear Roman Reigns, but we're going to take the title off of Roman Reigns anyway. It makes the match at Fastlane pointless, but hopefully it'll be a good match anyway. So, let me see here. Edge recalls how Bryan said last week he deserves to be at WrestleMania main event more than Edge because he loves this and has wrestled more than Edge has in recent months. Edge says it's time to remind Bryan Reigns and the entire fan base who he is. While Bryan may be wrestling once a week, he's been pulling double shots and more with superstars and Hall of Famers like The Undertaker, Cena, Randy Orton, Batista, Eddie Guerrero, Mr. Perfect, the British Bulldog, Terry Funk, and all over a time frame of 4 decades. And I'm sitting here thinking when he's saying this, I'm like, Edge, that's nice and all. That was 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. You haven't had a proper singles match in a year, and you haven't been wrestling on a regular basis in over 10 years. So you coming out here is like, oh, I've scrapped it. I've had matches with Batista, Randy Orton, John Cena, Mr. Perfect, Terry Funk, Undertaker, and all these other guys. That's nice history lesson. But that was over a decade and a half ago. That has nothing to do with now. You are not the Edge of 2005, the Edge of 2000, the Edge of 1999. This is Edge 2021, where you've only wrestled once this year, and that was at the Royal Rumble. Now, that's going to change next week, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. So, again, listing all these guys that you've had matches with over a decade and a half ago doesn't really fucking matter. Yay, you wrestled The Undertaker, John Cena to death, Randy Orton to death, Batista, Eddie Guerrero, Mr. Perfect, the British Bulldog, Terry Funk, and more. But again, what does it have to do with now? What have you done for the company lately? What have you done for the business lately? Oh, that's right, you went to the Royal Rumble. Push for you to win the Royal Rumble so you could go to WrestleMania and possibly beat Roman Reigns for the championship, which will piss the entire fan base off. And could you imagine last year at this time, people getting pissed that Roman Reigns could possibly lose a championship match at WrestleMania? It's like, man, the difference a year makes. Like, seriously. Go back to March 12th, 2021. We're on our way to WrestleMania. The country just shut down. And Roman Reigns is supposed to be facing Goldberg for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania. Hadn't been changed yet. And everybody was going to be like, Goldberg's there just to put Roman over, and we're all pissed off. We don't want to see him main event. And now, he's going to be main eventing this year, for sure, in front of about, hopefully, 45,000 fans they want to go. Or 45,000 fans on both nights. I don't think they're going to be able to do that, but that's just me. But now we don't want Roman Reigns to lose. Could you imagine that? Just 1 year later, people want to see Roman retain his championship at WrestleMania. Wow. But out comes Daniel Bryan. He says Edge talks about Reigns getting sucked into it. It looks like Edge got sucked into it by what Bryan said last week, which was not his intention. He'll set the record straight. He has an infinite amount of respect for Edge and all he has done in his career. Bryan sees how hard Edge worked, how much he loves this, how hard he fought to get back here. But let me get completely honest, when Bryan wanted to challenge Reigns for the title, it wasn't about Edge. Bryan says he laid on the mat in the Elimination Chamber and watched Edge point up at the WrestleMania sign, and yeah, it demoralized him. He mentions how this may be his last WrestleMania, and he thought he could go into it on back burner, but he decided to throw all he has at it and give all he's got to be in the main event. If this is his last one, and Edge has his spot at WrestleMania, so this isn't about him. For Bryan, if he wants the main event WrestleMania, he has to go to Fastlane, and he has to take the title from Reigns. And that is why he went into business for himself. Because he keeps teasing, this could be his last WrestleMania. Could that be possible? Possibly. Daniel Bryan has been talking about wanting to hang it up soon and not be a full-time wrestler. So this could be Daniel Bryan's last chance, which, honestly, it would suck if this is Daniel Bryan's last chance, but you know how it goes. Edge says Reigns has already defeated him, and no matter how it happens, a win is a win. I knew the circumstances, but the win is a win. He recalls how he dominated the Royal Rumble and said Bryan was in that match. Edge has the mutual respect for Bryan. He likes him. He doesn't like how he went about it. I'm like, you're not happy about somebody going in for the business for themselves to get a chance to go to WrestleMania and a title match. Like, this is coming from the man who for years called himself the ultimate opportunist, who would do the exact same fucking thing to get a title match, and now you're not happy that somebody else wants to have a championship match at WrestleMania? At do you get off, Edge? Give me a fucking break. The man who only wrestled Randy Orton last year in singles matches. Of course, he got injured at that match, the greatest wrestling match ever. He was probably going to wrestle other people, but only had 3 matches last year, minus the Royal Rumble. Wrestled only Randy Orton, comes back, has a match, wins the Royal Rumble, and now we're supposed to think he should be winning the World Championship? No. Edge, to me, is just another legend coming back, stealing a spot from a guy like a Daniel Bryan, like a Jey Uso, like a Kevin Owens. Anybody else you want to say? Honestly, Jey Uso has had the best turnaround on a career in the last 7 months or so. The man has gone from being known as a tag team specialist to being called Main Event Jey Uso, main eventing most SmackDowns since his time with his cousin, and yet he's gonna probably be doing something, probably be in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal if they still do that. But yeah, Edge gets the match at WrestleMania for the World Championship. Give me a break. He just didn't like how it went all down. He says Bryan is better than this, but he's not better than Edge. Drops the mic, walks off, and his view starts back up, staring over at Bryan as he walks away. Bryan looks over as Edge makes his exit, backing up the ramp while staring back at Bryan. It's like, again, what have you done for me lately, Edge? You've wrestled once since you've come back from your injury, and you wouldn't really wouldn't want to call that a wrestling match because it was the Royal Rumble. You really don't call that a wrestling match. So, still to come, Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks will be on the Kevin Owens show. Really don't care. Plus, Big E will be back after Apollo Crews injured him about 3 weeks ago. Then we go to the Street Profits, Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio making their entrance for a match against the Alpha Academy, Otis and Chad Gable, and the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Dirty Dogs, aka Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. Now, as these men were making their way to the ring, the other team comes down and attacks them from behind, get a big old brawl before the match. And I'm just sitting here, I'm like, it still boggles my mind that this company turned Otis heel. A couple months after they turned his former tag team partner heel, and he's gone completely AWOL. Has anyone seen Tucker since he turned him heel? I haven't seen him. Not since he lost to Ricochet in about 5 seconds, and then ran for the 24/7 championship for a bit. But no, haven't seen him since. And now Otis is heel with Chad Gable. If they wanted to turn Otis heel, you could have just turned Heavy Machinery heel. Probably would have worked out better. So you got this 8-man tag team match. Of course, the Street Profits have been looking to get back into the tag team title picture because they were told by Sonya Deville, you're not getting another tag team title opportunity right now because other teams deserve an opportunity. And I'm like, what other teams? You have Mysterio, you have the Mysterio family, the Street Profits, the Alpha Academy, and that's it. That's it. Besides, like, the 4 teams you have on this on this brand were in this match. Jimmy's not back, so the Usos aren't a thing right now. But these are the 4 active teams you have that I can think of off the top of my head. No, Sami Zayn and Baron Corbin are not a team. Nakamura and Cesaro could be a team, I guess, but they're really not acting like a team. It's like they're friends, but they're not really a team. But these are the 4 teams. Who deserves a championship opportunity against Rude and Ziggler that isn't the Street Profits? Now, in this match, Dominic Mysterio goes for a tornado DDT on Robert Roode. And I don't know if Roode slipped out or what was going on, but when he went down and went for the tornado DDT, when he went down for the DDT portion, the slam portion, he didn't go for head first. He went face first. Like, he smacked his face off of the mat, and I'm like, if he doesn't come back with some kind of concussion or being shook up, I will be surprised. Of course, he was in this match a lot more, so obviously I'm surprised that he didn't get some kind of injury off of that, because that looked awful. Holy shit. That was like the scariest part of the match. Now, Roode tags in and intercepts a 619 with a big spine buster for a 2 count. Ford breaks it up. Ziggler super kicks Ford. Dawkins with a slight silencer on Ziggler. Roode tosses Dawkins to the floor with Ziggler. Dominic suckers Roode in and Ray drop kicks him behind, putting them in position. We get a double 619. Dominic leaps off the floor, take out Gable. Ray flies onto Otis. Ford nails a huge splash off the top rope for the 1, 2, 3. And the Street Profits and the Mysterios get the win, prompting probably more discussion for the Street Profits getting the tag team title opportunity because Roode was pinned. And I will say this again. WWE can never find a way to get number 1 contenders in WWE without having the champions lose non-title matches. So again, why would you want to be a champion in this company? You lose non-title matches all the time. So I'm going to say about that. We get a recap of Shane Helms surprising Molly Holly with the 2021 Hall of Fame induction announcement on the bump on Wednesday. Congratulations to Molly Holly. If anybody deserved to go into the Hall of Fame for the women who hasn't been there, Molly Holly is probably one of those women. Then we see Jey Uso walking backstage. He wants to go enter the locker room, but Paul Heyman's outside. And pretty much deflects him from going in there, being like, he's kind of pissed. He's not happy with you tapping out to Daniel Bryan last week. Jay is like, you know what? I got some business I got to go take care of right now. I'll be back later. And Paul Heyman's like, he'll be happy with you. He'll be happy to see you then. And that was that. Back from breaks, Kayla Braxton's backstage with Seth Rollins, brings up Cesaro hitting the swing. 2 weeks ago, Rollins is not happy and wondering why we're still talking about this. He reminds everyone that he went to help Cesaro, but he says Cesaro has all the talent in the world, but he hadn't had as much success as Rollins, maybe a little, but not as much as me, and never been a leading man. Rollins then wanted to help but get ridiculed, so he's done with Cesaro. The biggest waste of potential he ever had. Kayla brings up the win over Murphy last week and says there will be a rematch tonight. Rollins is like, rematch? And just walks off. Now, apparently, speaking of Murphy, earlier this week or earlier today, whichever one it was, he posted on Instagram why he turned heel again or came out as a heel again, complaining that he was used by Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio. Rey was jealous of him. Aaliyah used him to get noticed as to advance her singing or acting career. Dominic needed somebody to stand with him. All these things, like bitching and blaming the Rey Mysterio's families for using him for everything. and then he had to delete it. So I don't know what's going on there. We didn't hear anything on SmackDown from why he just all of a sudden appeared. Aaliyah is nowhere to be seen, and he's not mentioned. He's like, there's no mention of his affiliation with the Mysterio family. Basically, if anybody still wonders why did they drop Mysterio and Aaliyah, like Murphy and Aaliyah's love story, simple. They had these guys come together in love, in quotation marks. He got the girl, and they had no idea how to get out of it. They got to the finish line, they got to the checkpoint of getting them together, and they didn't know where to go from there. Apparently they didn't know how to make it so eventually Murphy would break her heart and start a feud with the Mysterio family all over again. No, they just dropped it. He was supposed to come back with Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake to go against the Mysterio family, which makes makes no sense whatsoever. And then Steve Cutler, of course, got fired, so that got thrown away. And he's just back wrestling meaningless matches against Cesaro. And of course, he tried to get back into good graces with Seth Rollins last week. That, of course, didn't work. And again, here he is wrestling another match against Cesaro, which goes about maybe 2.5 minutes. Cesaro puts him in the swing. Seth Rollins, who was watching from the stage, isn't happy to see the swing again. He does not like the swing now. Attacks him, beats him up, hits him with 2 stomps, says he's embarrassing him. He embarrassed him 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, no, Seth, what you're wearing right now embarrasses you. Hits him with 2 stomps, goes to get a chair, puts his head in the chair, looks like he's going to stomp the chair, stomp his head into mush. But Jamie Noble, of all people, who was backstage as backstage agent, catches Seth and stops him from doing anything stupid. And that was it for that segment. So that match might be made for Fastlane. I have no clue. Again, we still only have 2 matches for Fastlane, and Fastlane is next Sunday. We are on the road to WrestleMania, and Vince McMahon has no idea what he's fucking doing. Wow. Same man for Shannon Post Kevin Owens backstage. He hoped to see the guy. He tells his documentary crew to keep filming him. He goes on about how Kevin known them for years, how WWE is trying to screw Sammy, and Sammy has decided he wants Owens to be in the documentary. Owens brushes it off and says he has the KO show to do tonight. Sammy insists and says they're going to expose the truth. Posted everywhere in the and do big numbers like Logan Paul, which why would you ever mention that piece of shit on TV ever? Owens says he'll think about it and walks off. We go to commercial break. Back from break, we see Edge stops Jay, and he brings up how he's known Jay and his whole family for a long time. So he's coming to talk to him about it like a man. Edge asks Jay, what are you doing? Seeing Jimmy and Jay back in 2015, and says that a match with them woke him up. That he could do this again because in 2015, it was still 4 years or so after he retired. He was still mourning his career as if it died completely. I don't know which match he was talking about. He just said a match with those two. It was 2015, so I don't think it was a match with the New Day. If he would have said 2017, I would have thought differently. And points out that Jay is a part of that, walking around like his head down, and wonders what Jay's dad thinks of all this. Being the lapdog to the big dog, acting like a subordinate. Jay tells us to not talk to him like he knows him. He talks about family and says Edge needs to go home and be with his. Because after WrestleMania and Roman is done with you, you're not going to enjoy anything anymore. Real talk. And they both walk away. Out comes Kevin Owens for the Kevin Owens show. We have Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Basically, Bianca Belair brings up the fact that Reginald has been getting in their business lately, and that it's Banks' fault and why she doesn't trust this match going on at Fastlane. Banks is like, she's going to walk out of WrestleMania as 2 belts. Banks pretty much saying that they're going to win the championships on Sunday. Again, why are they getting a rematch even though they lost, if I'm correct, clean as a whistle at the Elimination Chamber is beyond me. Either way. So, out come the tag team champions with Reginald. Owens says he didn't invite them. Out comes Tamina and Natalya. Apparently, we're going to have a match between these 2 teams. Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair versus Tamina and Natalya. Now, Let's see here. Belair tags in. There's a series of drop kicks. Don't really care. Banks comes in, gets on the announce table, confront Reginald on top of the table. Chases him into the ring and back out. Natalia takes advantage and rushes Banks from behind again, leveling her and sending her to the floor while Belair and Tamina go at it. Belair decks Natalia, but Tamina comes from behind, rolls Belair up. 1, 2, 3, and Tamina pinned Bianca Belair. Does anyone else see a problem with that? Bianca Belair, the woman who is challenging for the SmackDown Women's Championship at WrestleMania, is getting beat in a meaningless tag team match by Tamina. WWE just doesn't know how to book a strong babyface. Apparently, clearly, when this is all said and done, Belair is going to be the babyface, Sasha Banks is going to be the heel going into WrestleMania. That's just how this works. They didn't need this match. They don't even need to be tag teaming. I do not want to go to Fastlane. Here we're going to have a triple threat match now because Tamina and Natalia beat the de facto number one contenders. They were complaining about 2 weeks ago. Why aren't we in this match? We're a strong tag team. Nobody cares about you. You're worthless. You're pathetic. And nobody cares about you, Natalia or Tamina. Both of you could retire and nobody would miss you. Nobody would miss either one of you, and the women's division would probably get a little bit better as it is. But that is probably what's going to happen. And I think what we're going to see is they're going to give the titles to Tamina. I would say probably Tamina and Natalia, but no, they're probably going to give them to Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair so they could go to WrestleMania and wrestle for the Women's Championship as they are the tag team champions. It's fucking stupid. They don't need this. After the match, of course, Bianca Belair is scolding Sasha Banks because she's still letting this guy get in between them and bugging and like ruining their matches. So, yeah. So, back from break, we see Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks arguing backstage over the losses and Reginald's involvement. Banks says she's not taking the blame for the loss and yells at Bianca Belair, calling her rookie, and walks off. I'm sorry, but this needs to fucking stop. If you're a talent who is in NXT and you have wrestled in NXT at a high level, coming up to the main roster, you are not a fucking rookie. I'm sick and tired of that shit. That just confirms even more that Vince McMahon doesn't see a talent like a Bianca Belair, like a Damian Priest who just came up. Anybody who comes up, Adam Cole, guy who's been in the wrestling business for over 15 years, comes up to the main roster, he's going to be labeled as a fucking rookie. Enough of that bullshit. Bianca Belair is not a fucking rookie. Bianca Belair has been doing this for a good bit. Yes, she's a product of the fucking Performance Center, but she's not a rookie. A rookie is somebody who just got into the business. It's her first year, and it's all, and they have maybe a couple matches. Anna Jay in AEW is a rookie. She's had 7 matches going into her debut on their program. She's in her rookie year, coming up on her after that. You can't call somebody who's been in the business for at least 3 or 4 years, a fucking rookie. Enough of that shit. That's just a slap in the face into anybody who works in NXT. That if you come up to the main roster, you're a rookie. Bullshit. So Big E comes out, making his return. He says he laid up in a medical facility because of Apollo Crews in the steel steps. He had a lot of time to think and hopes that Crews knows what he did because Crews crossed the Rubicon, opened Pandora's box, and the passion and the anger and the vitriol coming out of Big E's. I cannot duplicate how this guy sounded. He said there's no coming back from that. There is no sorry to fix this. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. Apollo made me go biblical. And I have to go Old Testament on Apollo because he knows it's an eye for an eye. You take one of mine, I take 2 of yours. You come to hurt me, I come to maim you. You step on my lawn, I bulldoze your house. Beating Crews won't be enough. I've got to end him. Says Crews wants this. What's good? That's good because he's ready to give Apollo exactly what he deserves. Takes some of his gear and says he doesn't need to wait we can do it tonight. Calls Apollo to the ring. He's been waiting for. He starts yelling for Crews to come out, but he's not appearing in Crews, and Big E is not surprised. Says he got all dressed up to defend his title, and that's what he's going to do. He says if Cruz won't come to him, then he will extend an open challenge to whoever wants it. Tells them to come get it. Out comes Baron Corbin, who is not dressed to compete. Why are you not dressed to compete, may I ask? Why are you not dressed and ready to compete? And he's like, I might not be dressed to compete, but I will gladly ruin this suit that I'm wearing to take that title from you. And Sami Zayn comes out and is like, nope, I got it, I accept. Calling the documentary crew to keep coming. Corbin says Zayn can't do that because he's just about to accept. He was just accepting the challenge. Zayn says they have it on film. Corbin was not accepting. He was taking way too long to monologue. Sami and Corbin still argue. Biggie says the first person into the ring gets the title match. Sami rushes to the ring. He's like, I got it. Next time, Corbin, you have to worry about that. But Biggie, he turns right around. Biggie beats the fuck out of him, sends him to the outside. And we go to commercial break with him writhing in pain. We come back and it's Biggie versus Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. Match was decent. Biggie defending his title as he should. Now, he hits the big ending out of nowhere, gets the win. Sami Zayn got a couple hook spots in there, thinking he caught the win. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for him. But after the match, he stands tall and celebrates. Apollo's music hits. Biggie, like an idiot, is looking around, looking each way, and then Apollo, from behind, attacks him, beats him up, gets the stairs, hits him in the side, and drop the fake accent. Now, when he has the stairs, I'm like, he is 100% ripping off Chadwick Boseman and the Black Panther, because it just sounds like he's trying to mimic Chadwick Boseman's performance as T'Challa in the Black Panther and of course other Marvel movies. So when he pitched this idea or something, did he go home, watch the Black Panther or watch the Chadwick Boseman's performance and try to mimic that as best that he could? Because my God, that accent is so fucking fake. Kayla approaches Nia Jax and Reginald backstage. She scolds her for being rude and interrupting. Jax laughs at what happened to Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Sasha Banks thinking they will win the titles at Fastlane. Reginald suggests Jax challenge Banks for the SmackDown Women's title next week so she can go in the Fastlane with the 2 titles. Jax says that's a great idea and tells Kayla to beat it so he can get back to talking to Reginald. And then we get... So, that match hasn't been made official yet. But it would not surprise me if that's going to happen soon. So, okay, hold on. I think it was announced in official. Let me see here. So, Jax will challenge Banks next week for the Women's Championship. There's no fucking way she's going to win. Of course, Reginald is going to get involved. Reginald is going to screw Nia Jax this time. He's going to get kicked to the curb, and that's all you're going to see from Reginald from here until the end of time. That's just how it works. Now. We had the contract signing. Roman has to have his chair where it belongs, at the head of the table. So he says, you know what? No, I'm not signing this. You don't deserve it. Daniel Bryan's like, you know what? I can't wait to see this match. He signs, and then he just goes all in on him. It's like, man, who'd have thought that the head of the table would be scared to wrestle me? This guy who's got, oozes all this confidence would just be completely scared. And it's like, maybe I should be the head of the table. The self-proclaimed head of the table. And he just keeps egging him on and egging him on. And the fact that he did something that Reigns couldn't do and make Jey Uso quit. So, Reigns eventually signs the contract. And Daniel Bryan says, I have a message for you now. I'm going to make you tap out just like I made Jey Uso tap out. Jey grabs the table, throws it out of the ring, and says, listen, you're going to start with the disrespect here. Hey, Adam, here's what's going to happen next week. This was going to happen at the pay-per-view. We need a special guest enforcer to make sure this gets called right down the middle, and that person needs to be me. You can see in the background, Adam Pearce is like, are you fucking kidding me? I ain't gonna make that a stipulation. No fucking way. So, Edge comes out and says, you know what, Jay? That's a really good idea, but I'm gonna one-up you. How about for the first time in almost 10 years, I will be wrestling you next week, and the winner becomes the special guest enforcer at Fastlane. Adam Pearce is like, I like that idea. We're going to make it happen. And boom, we have ourselves a match next week on the Go Home show. Now, this, in my opinion, was something that needed to happen. We do not need to see Edge going up against Roman Reigns for the next 6 or 7 months, and that's it. Edge needed to start wrestling other people. Now, Edge obviously is going to win next week. There's no fucking reason that Jey Uso needs to win. Edge does not need to lose going into WrestleMania. But this is what I want to see. The reason that people say wins and losses do not matter in the vein of WrestleMania, of professional wrestling, is they do, but they don't. Just look at Alan Angels in AEW. This guy had a match against Kenny Omega, where Kenny Omega gave him every fucking thing that he could. He let him do everything that he wanted to against Kenny Omega. People criticized Kenny Omega for allowing that to happen. Guy's part of the corner now. Jey Uso is called Main Event Jey Uso, or is being called Main Event Jey Uso because he's been putting on main event style performances for months. This is just going to be another thing to help build up Jey Uso as a star. Honestly, Jimmy coming back, honestly, in my opinion, you don't want to pair them up right now. Honestly, if it was me, Jay should be winning the Intercontinental Championship. Jimmy comes back and you have brother versus brother. Let's see if Jimmy can hold up like his brother. That's just me. But we're going to have this match next week. Honestly, we'll see. This will be a test for not just Jay, but for Edge going into WrestleMania. If Edge goes out there, puts on a good performance, then it won't be as much of a question for a lot of people going into WrestleMania. Can he even handle a match with Roman Reigns? This will be interesting next week, 100%. So, SmackDown, little bumpy ride going into the end of the show. I do like the fact that they do have Jay versus Edge next week. It's needed 100%. But yeah, not much else I can say, and that is that. That is your SmackDown review. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Minds at the France Club. Find me on twitch.tv/the France Club. Find me on Instagram at the France Club. And I'll see you guys on Monday for Raw. Until then, my name is the France, and I'll see you guys later.